We're back on the set of BookView now at BookCon 2015. Very exciting day here. Lots of really enthusiastic and passionate readers. And we are sitting right now with our guest host for the hour, Leigh Bardugo. So nice to have you. Thank you for being here. We're also with Rainbow Rowell.
Hi.
How awesome that we have the two of you.
Awesome for me.
And I feel a little third wheelish because you guys know each other, and you said, "Can Rainbow come on?" I was like, "Are you kidding? Sign me up, baby."
She's gonna make me feel guilty. She's gonna be like, "You told me they wanted me to come."
No,
like, no, just add it to your schedule.
We just watched a segment from Rainbow's breakfast yesterday. Very funny.
Thank you.
And so I was thrilled to have you. But
I'm happy to be here.
it was Leigh who said, "Get her, please."
I'll hang out with Leigh anytime, anywhere. Just
cool.
to tell me where to go.
Duly noted.
Yeah,
You guys know each other.
Through this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we've
Through
done a lot of festivals together. I think the first one was
LeakyCon.
LeakyCon.
There were like author Olympics. We had to do author Olympics at
I ran
LeakyCon.
suicides.
Yeah.
In a maxi dress.
Really?
Yeah. There is no humiliation.
Video
I
of
won't
this
embrace.
somewhere.
Yes.
Online.
Yes, there is, and there's also a picture of me essentially mid-air.
Yeah.
It was a somewhat traumatizing experience. But the kids seem to like it.
Yeah, when you get like 8 YA middle grade authors together and then like have gym class. That's what it was. We were all weeping openly.
Yeah, we are not suited to physical combat at all.
No.
Yeah.
I understand. Well, we just
That's
talked.
what this is, though, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
This is the warm-up and then the arm wrestling portion.
Okay.
Yeah, now we need to make room right here. We can just move Tony's book and you can roll.
Absolutely. Who
Fantastic.
needs it?
My biceps are ready.
Well, we just talked about Six of Crows, but you have a new book coming out, Carry On.
I do, yeah,
Which we don't have in our hands yet. We do have, though, your exclusive collector's edition of Fangirl, which is a really
Beautiful.
wonderful
Pretty.
book. But tell us about Carry On, and have you been able to read it yet?
I'm one of the lucky few who has.
Leah is one of
What do
maybe
you
3
think?
people who has
Yes,
read it. Yeah.
I'm one of the privileged.
Yeah.
Give us your quick review.
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you.
I think it is. Well, it's interesting because Rainbow
After
and
she gave me
I-
notes, she now thinks it's fantastic.
You didn't want me to just be like,
No,
great.
I didn't.
It's not what writers go to other writers for.
No.
Right.
Gentle notes. So apparently I made you cry.
I
You
got off the phone and cried.
I thought I was so encouraging.
I was planning you were very encouraging.
That's why I
but
should never teach
I was
children.
planning a bridal shower that night. I got off the phone with Leigh, and then I had to blow up balloons and stuff, and I was just crying.
It's a beautiful image.
It is good. The colors were
But you
lilac and
appreciated
green.
it somehow after the fact. You
Oh God,
came
no!
back,
It
yeah.
was a lifesaver. Yeah.
Thank you. But
Tears
I
of
was
joy.
really excited to read it because I'd read Fangirl, which is when we meet Simon and Baz.
Right.
But this is a whole new take on that.
Right.
In Fangirl, they're meant to sort of embody fan fiction that Kath, the protagonist, is writing. But you took a totally different approach with the book.
Right. So in Fangirl, the main character writes fan fiction about this sort of Harry Potter Twilight-ish world. And so there's fan fiction in this book that she writes about Simon Snow. But in working on that book, I kept thinking about all the Chosen One stories that I love and why I can't walk away from them, and why even in this book, I kind of created this world and this Chosen One. And so when I was done with it, I thought, well, what would I do with Simon Snow? So it is a spin-off, but it's a standalone book. Because it starts and it's a completely different thing happening. It's its own world.
Yeah, there's no question that it's a response to Harry Potter. And there are certain things that you can feel are meant to be direct callbacks.
Right.
But I thought, I mean, you talk about Chosen One narratives, but I remember we were recently in Orlando and we went to, I don't know why I just got really Long Island when I said that. But we were in Orlando and we went to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
For Lee's birthday, that's where she
My
wanted to go.
birthday?
It was her, I don't want to say which birthday, but I thought, oh God, she invited me. What if it's a big crazy party? Because I'm not much
She
of a
didn't realize
partier.
how square I am.
Well, we only hung out at cons. And it was like getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to the Wizarding World.
I know, we were like, we got to get on the water taxi immediately. Yes, there may have been face glitter, but one of the things you said to me was, I think Harry Potter would be scarred for life from the things that happened. And something I think that you do that's really interesting in Carry On is you talk a lot about bravery and its costs.
Right, and sacrifice. And
yeah.
And the way that, so, I mean, for me, my fandom has always been about a Chosen One. I was a Star Wars junkie all through my childhood and adulthood. And then it was Lord of the Rings and Arthurian legend, and then there was a lot of Jesus in there too, I'm not going to lie.
Along the way.
Yes.
Gotten letters
I was
about
so
how there are
primed.
no other Chosen Ones. by
Right,
the
I
way.
was primed. Yes. And so I just keep going for that narrative again and again. But as an adult, I find myself always thinking about what happens after, because the chosen one gets called.
Yeah.
He always says, it's always a he. It's usually a he.
Hey now.
It's usually
That's
a
because
he.
you haven't read my books.
Well,
That's why.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we're sort of programmed, and that person always says yes. There's never this moment of like, you know what? I've got a lot of power.
Take a nap.
Maybe I'll do what I want to do. It's always like, I hope there's an old guy wandering the desert and that he tells me what to do, and I hope it's really scary and hard and that I might die, because all I want to see. So,
But when you're a kid, I just saw Mad Max Fury
Oh, yeah,
Road,
I
which
loved it.
Loved.
Yeah, me
But
too.
I had this moment from the very beginning of realizing if I had seen it when I was 14, I would have been like, hell yeah, I can do that. I can get that done.
Yeah.
In the first 30 seconds when he jumps out on the thing, I was like, I'd be dead.
yeah, dead.
I'd be so dead.
Roadkill.
Yeah.
And I think
Roadkill.
Hey, I think we want those stories.
Oh, you want clarity.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when you're chosen, especially if you're a kid who doesn't know what you're doing, which is most kids, I guess, but this feeling of like, oh, this is clarity.
Yeah.
I will fight this war. I will die for this cause. I will win this battle, you know, and I don't even need to think past the end.
The repercussions,
No.
who's going to be in charge after, or any of that.
But when you're an adult reading those books, because I never left those books behind or those stories behind. I'm someone who really took everything I loved as a child with me. And then I read Harry Potter as an adult. I think you bring a much more adult sensibility to, like, why isn't anyone hugging Harry? I really feel like he might have attachment issues, you know? So
And you're a mom, too.
I'm a mom, too.
So I think I'm not. But I think
you're
that's
very cold.
I am. I have no heart at all.
Right?
I love the chosen stories, and I always feel like I would die too. I would be the
Yeah.
one that died. That's the way I think about it.
Yeah.
But I
You would be
secretly-
chosen to die.
Yeah, I would be the one who would be chosen. Like whenever they do the Hunger Games thing, I'm usually the dead guy, like right off the thing.
I would just
Like,
run for the potato chips and just,
You're
die
dead.
happy.
Which district has potato chips?
That's right. That one.
But I sort of hope that I'm that guy that when challenged, I'm thinking I'm going to die, but I actually have that inner resolve to rise up like Harry and become the stronger kid that I didn't really think I was. I thought I was the weak guy who would die. But no, I am the chosen one. That's what I'm hoping I pull that card.
Yeah, I think we all have that.
We all
We all
want
have the
that.
desire to see our hidden talents recognized.
Right.
I think that's another reason that adults love YA. Because a lot of people are in jobs that they hate and are just waiting for somebody to say, hey, you kid with the moxie, you got it. But
Yeah.
I also love, something that's very different about Carry On is I've read all of your books now, and Rainbow writes falling in love like nobody's business. Like where you love both
It's nobody's
people.
business.
Nobody's business, but where it makes you want to fall in love. Like it's a very different kind of writing, and it's hard for me to call it romance because it often happens in very kind of pedestrian circumstances, right?
Yeah.
But in this case, in Carry On, you have some of that intense, fighting and all of that happening, and Baz and Simon are an unusual couple for most mainstream fantasy.
Right. Right. What would you like me to say about that? I mean, Baz.
Well, they're gay wizards,
They are
Rainbow.
gay.
Tell us more.
They're gay, and there's I think there are people who read Fangirl. Like that's the first question. They are Baz and Simon going to actually be in love, or am I going to just be kind of coy and Sherlocky and hint at it? You know what I mean? Yeah. Come on. So. And I'm not like it's just
No,
it's a love story.
story.
Like there's no hinting. It's just there. This is what this is. This is a love story about these two guys who fall in
Has
love.
there ever been anyone who said, I wasn't expecting that, or is everybody already there?
Well, I don't know because nobody's getting to read this book. It's like there are no advanced readers copies. I mean, so I think people want that. I think they really want it. I think people are kind of. I think people want it. I think it would have been a real letdown if I had done sort of
If you'd done some kind of shift, especially
yeah.
after Fangirl.
I did have one reader who might be a member of my family who said, it'd be just as good if they didn't fall in love, right? It'd be just as good. They'd still have that great chemistry and they'd still be friends. And I thought, no, that's just
That's a different story.
That's a different story.
It's a totally different story. We have a lot of stories about guys who are friends.
There's so many stories about guys who are friends.
We have a lot of bromances out there. I think
Yeah.
we deserve an actual romance.
Yeah, and there was so much promise for them to fall in love in this book. And that's one reason I was excited to write it. I actually started writing Carry On as a short story, and it was just going to be a Simon and Baz and love story. And then I realized when I started it that I was much more interested in the politics of their world and the more serious aspects of Simon's life. And so it became this longer book. But I wouldn't have wanted to write it if they didn't fall in love.
No. I mean, to be honest, that's part of the reason I read your books, is because I love that.
Like, somebody
feeling.
better fall in love.
Somebody better fall in love or I'm out.
Quick.
Or, 1 star on Goodreads. I also wanted to talk a little bit about Eleanor and Park, just to go back in time for a
Sure.
minute. It was the first book I read by you.
First book you read.
First book ever.
Really opened a lot out for you.
It did. I mostly like pictures.
Right.
It was the first of your books I read. It was recommended to me by another author, Jess Brody, and I don't read a lot of contemporary. I mostly read fantasy. And then
She needs love and dragons.
Love and Dragons and fire. And I just thought it was so brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
And I feel like it pulls this Jedi mind trick when it comes to self-esteem and girls. And it's hard for me not to wonder how much of like your own experience growing up worked into that. I'm hesitant to ask that because I feel like sometimes lady authors get that more than male authors.
Sure. But no, I mean, Eleanor's a fat kid and I was a fat kid, so
We both are.
yeah, so I definitely. But the thing about girls is kind of every girl tells you they were a fat kid, because even if I was legit fat. But even if you weren't, you know,
It's legit fat.
No,
and how can I start that blog?
but legit. I had to shop. I didn't get to buy the regular clothes in the regular clothes sections. I don't know. Does that count?
Maybe that's the
My
point.
mother.
I
mother said I was big boned, and she's actually right. I also had big bones underneath everything. But anyway,
You're not going to get osteoporosis.
See, look at this argument we're having, though. It doesn't matter. I was fat, but everyone says they were. So when women read Eleanor and Park, even women who I would never think would identify with that character's self-esteem and weight issues do.
That's all internal.
Yeah.
Well, I think though for me, there are these. You see Park's POV and you see Eleanor's POV.
Oh, absolutely, it's different.
And you see the way Eleanor views herself, and I think that resonated for whatever your size is or wherever you've been. This is what you're bombarded with
Right.
for the entire. This is not a secret. This
Right.
is what you're put through.
Right.
Then you switch to Park's POV, and you can sense him desiring her,
lust.
and going through. And that lust, I think, is more powerful than any speech you could ever give
Right.
about body positivity, because it's like, you know what? You are actually not the person you think you are.
Right.
And I found that very beautiful, and I wish I'd read it when I was 12.
Me too.
Yeah.
If I get a time machine.
That's right.
Leigh Bardugo, I have something for you.
Wow. Actually, my 13-year-old self might be a little pissed off by that. No, I would be expecting the chosen one call.
Oh, right.
That it would be like a sword or a dragon, and they'd be like, this will really help you get through high
Here's
school.
a story about a girl with low self-esteem.
Well, I have to tell you, this has been incredibly entertaining. I just
Oh,
want to go
good.
sit over and watch over there and let you guys go for
it's
another
so
hour.
nice.
But we have to move on. I will tell you, Fangirl, the exclusive collector's edition, which does have some incredible artwork.
It has a
It's
ribbon
really-
bookmark. Very
I know.
few books have those
There
these
it
days.
is. And Carry On is so big that I can't even get my hands on it yet. Only a special few.
Really?
And they're you're going to
thank you.
really wonderful places when you can't
Thank
get your
you.
hands on the book. But it's been
You're in
so
a good
nice
place
to have
when no
you.
one can get your book.
So we all dream of.
That's the new success in writing. So great to have you, Rainbow.
thank you.
And Leigh, we're sticking around, but
Yep.
really wonderful to have you here.
Thank you
Thanks
so
much
much.
for joining us.